Welcome back to the channel, Bridging the Gap Student to Engineer, where STEM professionals provide advice to students. I've been getting a lot of requests for data reviews for various universities, and so what I thought I'd do in this video is provide just an overview on how to do it yourself. I will also provide in the comments to this video links to data sources for various universities, as well as videos that I have done. So the description of this video will probably continue to grow as the library of videos that I've completed grows, and I find more information for more universities. So let's get started. So this video is called Employment Data: How to Find and Use Employment Data to Choose the Right Engineering School. Again, this is part of a larger process that you're going to go through. I have a video about choosing a right engineering school for you, so I will provide that link up above. This is specifically for employment data. So if you're looking at the 6 major areas or considerations that were in that other video, this is mostly for the outcomes section, but also can be used for experiences section. Experiences when we talk about professional work experience while you're in school for intern and co-op. So we'll go through that and then also go through the data for graduates. So when you're looking for data for student outcomes, first thing you have to do is find them. So typically you can search the name of the school and then student outcomes. Sometimes that will get you into websites about accountability on education, so you might have to search first destinations or next steps. You can see for the screenshots that I have here, they are called very different things at different schools. The Purdue one is called Next Step Survey. That one comes up pretty easily, and I have done a video on that. Michigan Engineering has a specific area just for engineering. But they call it post-graduation intern co-op employment data. And then the one screenshot on the bottom here is for the entire University of Texas system. If you search for any school within the system, you will not get this website. So I will provide all the links and all the sources that I'm providing in each of these at the end of the video so that you can go directly to where you need to go to get the information. But this is just showing you examples of what the different things look like. Colorado School of Mines, the last one on here, they call it their Career Center Annual Report. But one thing to point out is that all this data is from the career centers typically, because they are the ones that are focused on getting students into careers after their schooling is done. Okay, and then step 2, a lot of schools will provide summary data, but not all of them. Some of them just have a Tableau dashboard where it's just a lot of data and a lot of charts. But some of them have summary data, and I've shown 2 here, one from Texas A&M and one from Colorado School of Mines. Keep in mind, if there is summary data, this is marketing, essentially. It's the school marketing themselves to you. It is also pretty general. It covers all majors, it covers all colleges within the school, and numbers can vary widely. If you look at the Texas A&M numbers and you don't know that the Texas A&M school is huge, you might think, wow, 121 positions, job postings on Hire Aggies, that's amazing. But the number of students looking for those is much larger than the Colorado School of Mines that's on the lower right. So take that into account. Also, what I thought was interesting is that the Texas A&M one on the bottom, it says graduation outcomes. They're providing you data at graduation and not 6 months after, which most schools provide 6 months after. I look at this and I think, wow, 19% of students are still looking for a job after graduation. That doesn't seem to be very good. But the rest of the data that you find will be 6 months after graduation. So giving some flexibility for those students who take a few months off for a rest, a break, or whatever else they want to do before they get a job. So just the overall message with this on the summary data is it is marketing. Make sure that if you're looking at something and it looks impressive, that you are comparing it to the exact same measurement with another school. Okay, and then step 3, industry data. This is, I think, is very important. Not all schools provide it. They provide some version of it, but not this way. So I provided screenshots of Purdue University industries and Colorado School Mines industries. You will see Colorado School Mines appearing a lot in this presentation. I think that they have the best data, the best way to present the data than any school that I have seen, and I've looked at lots of schools now. So if you just look at these two, they're pretty much the same type of data they're showing. One is in a donut chart and one's in a bar chart, but they're showing you the same thing. If you look closely, you can see aviation and aerospace is the top for Purdue. It is actually the top for Colorado School of Mines. But if we look at manufacturing, that's the second one for Purdue. That is way down around the donut chart on the Colorado School of Mines. It is the 5th top category. So if I'm going to look at the second to top category in Colorado School of Mines, civil, construction, and building trades, that's reasonably far down on the Purdue list, even though they have a really well-known construction engineering management program within the School of Civil Engineering. So that's something to note. Also, energy, oil and gas is not very high at Purdue. You see it's way down there with the 21 jobs or students taking jobs in that industry, where Colorado School of Mines is a full 14%. So the reason that this is important is because you might get a mechanical degree or whatever discipline of engineering degree at a different school, but if the school has a lot of relationships in a certain industry, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get into that industry than if you wanted to look at something that was very small. So I'll just pick on Colorado School of Mines, biotech, bioengineering, and pharmaceuticals is very small, 1% of the population, where if you look at Purdue, it is the 6th one down, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and medical devices. Purdue has a lot of relationships with those kind of companies. Eli Lilly hires a lot from Purdue, and so you're going to have a much easier time getting into that industry if that's what you're pursuing and what your long-term career goals are. It doesn't mean that one school is better than the other. It just means that that the relationships that the school have are in different areas. So again, if the school does not provide this information, you can dig it out piece by piece, looking at the company data that they provide, but it is a lot harder if you're trying to put that together and you don't know the companies just by name. So if you can get it, top industries is really important, particularly if you know you're getting an engineering degree so you can do something in particular. Okay, location data. To me, location data is really important. I am from California. I went to school at Purdue. Those are very different parts of the country. I didn't want to stay in Indiana after I graduated. If I had been at a small regional school that wasn't known elsewhere, it would have been more difficult for me to get a job. And so I think it's important to understand that there are a lot of schools that are regional, and that's totally fine, particularly if you are want to stay in that region, or you're from that region, or or you have a goal of moving there. But there are other schools that are more well-known and more nationally and internationally known. So the one on the left here is Colorado School of Mines. They are pointing out that 64% of their grads, and they're all STEM, so this is all engineering, accept jobs in Colorado. So that's great. If you want to work in Colorado, you want to live in Colorado, then going to mines might be your best bet for getting into the area. They are all over the country. You'll see by the darkness of the color that they have a lot of grads going to Texas, California, Washington, Wisconsin. They do have some gaps and some smaller numbers on the East Coast. So if you wanted to go to Bangor, Maine to live permanently, It's not saying that you can't, but you just won't have a large alumni association, and you won't have a lot of name recognition for people who are doing the hiring. But on the other hand, if you look at the top right, we have the Purdue data, and then below that, University of Michigan. So Purdue is very, very heavy in Illinois and Indiana. Not so much in a lot of other states, but definitely still really high numbers for Washington, California, Texas. Those are very common in all of these data sets. You will see Washington, California, and Texas. But you'll also see that Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, some of those states that are surrounding Indiana have a lot of Purdue grads. New York, and then again Colorado. So there's a chunk of students that are going to Colorado, having been to school at Purdue. And then Michigan tends to have very heavy name recognition in California. And then there are a lot of states where they just don't have very many grads going to at all. But pretty good representation all across the country. As you look at these, it's also good to look at where the interns go. Some schools provide intern and permanent jobs locations with these kind of maps, and those are really good to just compare and see where a good place to go would be. And also, I do explain in my intern video that an internship is a really good time to be testing out a new location. If you want, if you're from Illinois, you've always lived in Illinois, you're going to school in Illinois, why not get a job in Washington or a job in Oregon just to check it out and see if that might be something you want to do in the future. It's much better to do as an intern than it is as a full-time worker, just because it's shorter term and it's easier to just leave if you decide you don't like it, or for some other reason you want to go check out a different area. Okay, then 5, company data. The company data is important. If you have name recognition, if you want to go in a certain industry. But again, you're going to see these lists, and it's going to be a lot of companies that you've never heard of. So just because you haven't heard of Klein Tools doesn't mean that they're not a great place to work, and they might not be something that you should pursue long term. So this is where the industry data is more helpful, but it is good, particularly in the absence of industry data, to look at this. Another thing that I like to look at, on the lower right-hand side, we have the data from University of Michigan. What they provide is by major, who the employer is that hired either a co-op, a graduate, or an intern, and then when. So I just filtered on 2022 because it gets really messy. But you can see that getting a bachelor's in aerospace engineering from University of Michigan, SpaceX and Lockheed Martin are the two most common destinations for graduates, but they also hire a number of interns. Northrop Grumman, Boeing, those are all big companies that if you know anything about the aerospace industry, you probably have heard of them. But we get down to companies like Ford. Often we think that we're going to go get a degree in aerospace engineering to go work at an aerospace company, but you'll see by the long list of companies here that you can really go anywhere and do a lot of different things with whatever your degree title is. But one thing that I like to really focus on when I see this data, if it is available, and in this case it is, there are companies that hire a lot of interns or a lot of graduates, a lot of students from University of Michigan, and that's a really good sign. There's no way SpaceX is going to hire a co-op, 8 grads and 3 interns in a single year without being on campus recruiting. And as a student, you really want to look at those companies that are going to be at campus recruiting you, because you don't have to fly all over the place. You don't have to expend so much of your energy to find them. You don't have to do a lot of research on who they are and find the job. They will be standing there in front of you saying, we have this opening. Please come work for us. So those are really positive things. Colorado School Minds, again, on the left, just provides a very long list of all of the companies that participate in their career fair. But you will notice these 5 are advertising on the brochure. So you can pretty well tell that these 5 companies are investing in Colorado School Minds and very, very interested in their grads. So if you want to go work at a gold mine in Nevada, that may be a very good school for you to go to and a good way for you to get connected there. And then on the upper right here is information from Texas A&M. This is the first school I've seen where they actually list the major, so in this case, interdiscipline engineering, and then each position title that grads have been hired for with each employer. So this is actually a really good way, even if you're not interested in Texas A&M, to go look through there and see what graduates with a certain degree are actually going and doing afterwards. Interdiscipline engineering, the one that I chose here, is something that is not one of the core. So it's a little bit all over the place with the positions, but definitely a good way to tell where you might land, and also to understand if a certain kind of degree is going to get you a title that you're interested in. Okay, salary data. Salary data is important. So we go to school to make money, and we go to school, we get a degree so we can make more money and have the lifestyle that goes with it. We also, there's lots of other motivators, bettering the world, and all of those important things. But engineering is a very highly paid profession compared to a lot of other degrees. And so if you're going to get a degree in engineering, it's really important to understand the differences here. All of the schools that I have looked at have some sort of salary data. There's a lot of different things to consider when you're looking at it, taking it at face value. Sometimes you feel like you can do that, and sometimes you've got to look into it a little bit more. A couple things that I would recommend looking at is if you have a school in a very high cost of living area and they have a lot of grads going to that high cost of living area, the salary numbers may look bigger than if you're looking at a school where the grads are going to lower cost of living areas. So that's one thing to just start with. The other thing is most of them provide a low, average, median, and high for each salary data point. As you can see from the table in the middle here, the Colorado School Minds, I would recommend disregarding the low salary. The ones here are not too horrible, but I just looked at a school today that all of their low salaries were like $15,000 a year. And I think those are probably either anomalies or part-time or something like that, where somebody's volunteering, and not really representative of what the salary is that you can expect. So similarly with the high salary, don't expect to graduate with that high salary. That's a high, that is one person. Often those are students that are, going to some role that's not typical for a graduate, or they're going to work in an offshore oil platform or something like that, that typically pays significantly more, but is also more of a hardship situation. So if that's what you want, that's definitely something that is a possibility, but just don't think that as a new grad, an average new grad going and, having the office job with not much hardship, that you're going to make that much money. And then just a word about median and average or mean for the salaries. So median means that half of the data points are above and half are below. And then average is what we typically use when we talk about looking for the middle data point, but it's really about taking all of those numbers and averaging them. So what that means is if you've got a high salary that's significantly higher than that midpoint, it's going to skew it. So if at all possible, I recommend using median, because you know that half the people will be above and half will be below, not allowing those larger numbers to skew the data point. Um, so anyway, when you're looking at salary data, make sure you're comparing the same thing. Um, the UT system data that's on the right side here shows first year, fifth year, 10th year earnings. They do use median, which is great, but make sure you're starting with that first year earnings rather than trying to compare some 10 years. The 10-year data, the only place I've seen that where that is prevalently available is on the federal data site for loans, because they have student loans, and so they're able to get that information from people. But it is just a quick illustration here of how much you can grow in 10 years. Definitely expect that you will be making a lot more than when you just get out of school, so don't feel like people are underselling you. Right, so the seventh step on here is intern and co-op data. So I see a lot of questions about intern and co-op opportunities, job opportunities while in school. And what I would say is that there are several reasons to do this, but you're still looking at that final graduation information, the final graduation job. All of that should be the most important thing you're looking at. On the other hand, if you can make $22 an hour, as both Colorado School Mines and Purdue say that their interns make, and the University of Michigan numbers are actually on average higher than that, but some of them are lower than that. If you can make that much working full time for 2 or 3 months during the summer, you're going to make a significant dent in the amount of money that you're having to pay for college. So it is important. Um, the the way that schools represent how frequently students have some sort of work experience is different everywhere. It is really hard to get an apples to apples comparison on this. So I'll point out a few things with the data that we have here, and then just ask that you look at the data very closely. So Purdue has pretty good. They're on the top here with the green border. What they're showing you is 12% of their students graduate without an internship, 31% graduate with one, and then it goes up from there. If you look on the right side, they say that 87% of their students had internships. So it is not clear from this data if it includes co-ops. Purdue has a pretty strong co-op program. I do plan to make a video on the difference between interns and co-ops, so please subscribe so you can get notified when that comes out. I'm gathering data right now, but the Purdue numbers are very strong. 87% having internships, whether or not that includes co-ops, is strong. If you look at the colorful orange one on the right side, that's Colorado School of Mines, and they are boasting that they have 69% of their grads have what they're calling technical work experience, which really is internships and similar similar experiences, research, co-ops, internships. So 69 is not as high as 87. So that's not as significant. If you did go to Colorado School of Mines, if you would have less of an expectation of getting any of that work experience while you're in school, which is not as good, and does not provide as much confidence that you will be able to make that money and get that experience while you're in school. The data on the lower right is from University of Michigan. They don't have information about how frequently it is, but they do talk about pay. Their data is harder to dig into as far as like frequency. You'd have to look at the numbers versus versus the number of overall student body. But on the previous slide where we talked about the number of students that various companies are hiring, you can see that the co-op numbers are significantly lower than internship numbers. So you can gauge a little bit about their intern and co-op programs that way. One thing I do want to point out on the Colorado School Mines data on the right is that they say they have experience in 38 states and 8 countries. What I am seeing on some schools is that they are focusing on getting their students intern, research, co-op experience in other locations. So rather than just doing study abroad, you might be able to do a work experience abroad. And I think that's great to get that opportunity. But that's something that Colorado School Minds at least has some information on. They do list in their data what countries those are, and you can see that in the video that I made on Colorado School Minds, which I will provide a link to after this, or in the description for this video. Okay, let's see. Let's go to other useful data. So I'm going to just put these up here. Um, there is a lot of data out there. Uh, when us parents are going to school, you didn't have a whole lot available to you, but this is the age of information. This is the age of the internet, and you can get a lot of data. I am disappointed when I see schools that have engineering, data science, those type of emphasis that don't have good data, because I think if you are educating our future data people, you should be providing that data. But anyway, other things to look at if you can find it. First year return rates. So this is something Colorado School of Mines brags about. This is basically what are they, how many of their freshmen are actually coming back for the next year. And that's all about retention. That's about students not getting lost when they go to school. Those are really, really important things. Most of what I talk about here is if you can get to graduation, but the percent that actually get to graduation is important. And get to that second year. I have graduation rates here as a separate thing. Most of the numbers that I see are pretty disappointing, and I have a hard time making a lot of sense with them. So don't be disappointed if you're looking at a school and it says 60% graduation within 4 years. There are a lot of numbers that are significantly close to that or around there. Diversity. So that's another thing. Whether or not you consider yourself a minority, it is important to surround yourself with people who look and have all different experiences than you, whether that's them being from different states or different countries or having a different perspective on whatever. That is part of the college experience, is being around people and expanding your thoughts and your horizons beyond what you grew up with. Okay, student organizations, student competitions. Professional organizations on campus are important. Competitions like solar car, robotics competitions, those types of things, that can be a fabulous experience for college students and can really, really help with feeling like you're part of a team and that you really need to be there at that school. And it doesn't hurt for when you're looking for a job in the future and you can say that your team was in whatever place on some solar car or something like that. Those are pretty exciting things. Faculty profiles. I use the term profiles because it's not really about like what their name is, but it's really about, do you have full-time faculty? Are they adjunct professors? Are they tenured? What is their diversity in general? Are they world-renowned? Are they focused on research? Are they focused on the students? There's a lot of different things to look at there that are not student outcomes, but definitely helpful as you look at schools. All right, so that's the end of this video. Thanks for sticking around to the end. I hope you found it helpful. I will again provide lots of links in the description to this one. So if you need anything or if the links aren't enough, please comment and I will add. I will find what information I can for you, and I will continue to make videos that are school specific as I have time. Thank you very much again. Like, subscribe, and make sure your notification bell is on so you can be notified when new stuff comes out. Thank you.